Welcome to episode 601 of salsidoparanormal. I'm your host, James Salsido, and tonight we are continuing our review of the of Orpheus, Mythos of the World by Padraic. As always, you can find all episodes of the show, along with links to social media and other ways to contact me at the podcast page. That is salsidoparanormal.podbean.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.podbean.com. Always happy to hear from you all, whether you have comments or questions or topic suggestions, or accounts of paranormal experiences, whether they're your own or from others that you trust. Happy to either read those or have you join me on the show to talk about them. Thank you all for listening, whether you are here for the live streams on Discord, or if you listen to the podcast or YouTube feeds, or on the Troubled Minds Radio Network, KUAP, Digital Broadcasting. There you can hear replays of 2 episodes of the show every night at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, right before Troubled Minds Radio comes on. And as always, I want to thank Michael Strange, host of Troubled Minds Radio, for having me on the network with him and everyone there, and putting all my shows up there as well. If you'd like to support the show, you can always share it with others and rate and review it on your favorite podcast platforms. And you can also find books I've written over on Amazon, paranormal fiction and nonfiction. I do have one coming out as soon as possible. I will let everyone know when that happens. And then, of course, other books I've written before. You can also sign up for the Patreon page, where starting this week, there will be 2 episodes released there per week of true paranormal stories from the web. And that will go on as long as possible and whenever possible. And that's for any paid membership level there. For those that want to support the show, you can donate as little as $1, but there's $1, $5, $10, and $20 tiers there. So, or you can also make one-time donations through PayPal. And I know that various payment platforms are not so great for people, but so far that's the only one that has worked for me. So, sorry about that. But support is never expected, but always appreciated, as there are always expenses in making these shows and associated projects, such as the book that's going to be coming out that is tied to the show. From equipment to research materials to travel expenses in some cases. And then again, also for making books and everything like that costs some money to get all the text formatted and the cover design and all that stuff. So I think that takes care of everything there. Thank you all again for being patient as I took a couple weeks off. My brain was just telling me that it needed a break. And what's funny about that is I still did some research here and there. I never really stopped listening to paranormal themed shows or podcasts or TV shows or whatever. But it definitely did help. I'm glad to be back here tonight doing this and starting with this increased schedule here, putting out 6 regular shows per week and then 2 Patreon shows per week. So I think that takes care of everything. So yeah, getting back to this book review here. We've been doing this for a while now. This book here, reviewing it for a while. And we are on Roman mythology. This is a book all about mythology, of course. I use AI to summarize everything. So, and then I read those summaries on these shows, and then we talk about them. So that is sort of the format of these episodes. So I'm going to the document here. Again, we are starting on Roman mythology. And the first section here is on the Sibyl, Sibyl. It says, an old woman with gray hair, wrinkled face, and eyes filled with light demanded to see King Tarquin the Proud, who had heard of or had dreamed of such a woman. Hang on one second, I gotta increase my zoom a little bit. on my Word document here because it's not quite big enough. There we go. That should help. So let me make sure I find my spot again. So yeah, I'll just read that. I'll summarize that again. An old woman with gray hair, wrinkled face, and eyes filled with light. That is something that comes up a lot in mythology and also in the paranormal as well. Whether it's people or not people, other entities, there's something to do with light that seems to come from the eyes or be part of the eyes. I'm sure there's a lot of symbology there as well. And this king, King Tarquin the Proud, had dreams of her apparently beforehand. Again, premonition there in a way. Says she stood before the king, seated on his ivory chair, wearing a purple robe and surrounded by men bearing rods and axes. I'm guessing they're talking about the king there. The woman had 9 books she offered to sell the king, saying they foretold events that may befall Rome and how to ensure its safety and greatness. She asked for half of all the treasure in the king's treasury as the price. The king and those around him thought she was crazy. Isn't that ironic? Anyone that has paranormal experiences these days, or at least over throughout time, so many people think, oh, that can't be real, so you have to be crazy. Just a little connection there to the present. The woman had a brazier of burning coals brought near and threw 3 of the books into the fire, letting them burn to dust or to ashes. So again, keep in mind these are books that supposedly have information about the future, and now she's just destroyed 3 of them. She then offered the remaining 6 books to the king for the same price, half of his treasury. The king refused, and onlookers laughed at the woman. The woman burned 3 more books, then offered the last 3 to the king for the same price again. King Tarquin, in awe of the woman, pondered long about agreeing to buy the final 3 books. The woman was allowed to take half his treasury, so in the end, he agreed. The 3 Sibylline books were placed in a shrine in Jupiter's temple, where they remained for 1,000 years, guarded by 15 priests. The priests consulted the books whenever the gods needed to be asked about the welfare of the Roman state. Long after, it was said someone saw the Sibyl lamenting in a cage because she could not die. That was, I don't know where that part comes from. I feel like I've heard it before, but just the idea of knowledge that was sort of had and then been lost. You see that so much in mythology and history and everything too. And the way, it could have been saved possibly if that king had just agreed in the beginning. And to me, it's sort of in reverse the way it went, because I'm just trying to think of this as I talk here, but you would think that as these books were burned, the king would want the price to go down. and yet he must have, I don't know if you want to go just with the story here, who knows if any of this was, if there's any basis for this at all in reality, but maybe he saw something in the woman's eyes, all that light coming out. Who knows what the reasons would be for that, for deciding at the last minute to accept those books, those last 3 books. Maybe just considering everything that was lost because he said no. He didn't quite want to lose a chance at least getting some of that knowledge. But yeah, so that's the first section of that chapter. Move on to the next one here. And this one is called Pomona and Vertumnus. It says, in the time of the Sylvian kings, there lived a nymph named Pomona who cared only for fruit trees, working all day, tending them with pruning hook and spade. Pomona's sister, Flora, tended flowers in spring, and the goddess Venus had many worshippers, but Pomona never left her orchards to join them. So I'm guessing that means that they would go and to either a temple or to wherever Venus was at and worship in person there. It says Pomona grew robust and handsome in her brown dress and leaf wreath. The demigods, these are again not quite sort of not the highest level tier level of these entities, but sort of the next one down, if you want to think of it that way. Sylvanus and Picus, Picus, each wanted her as a sweetheart for her beauty and bounty of fruits. Sylvanus first approached Pomona as a hunter with spear and game, but she hid from him. He returned then as a shepherd, but still, she still spurned him. Picus came on the same day, finely dressed and well spoken, but Pomona splashed water in his face. Picus and Sylvanus fought over her until she fled. Again, just a sort of a warning here. A lot of mythology. The male figures do not treat the female figures very well at all. At all. Anyway, after that, Pomona had built a wall around her orchard and let no male deities enter, careful of letting any potential lovers in. Young Vertumnus fell deeply in love with Pomona. He came to her gate disguised as a reaper with barley, a mower with grass garland, and a plowman with a goat, I'm guessing. But she recognized him as a divinity and kept him out. Vertumnus next appeared as an old woman. So again, these different entities, they have the ability to look or be whatever they want to, at least externally. Possibly even right down to, who knows, the detail there. Pomona kindly let this woman rest in the shade and eat fruit. The crone admired Pomona's beauty and orchard. Pointing out a vine growing on an elm, the old woman urged Pomona to likewise find a mate and recommended Vertumnus, which of course, this is the old woman. This is the one, basically, she, in that form, is recommending himself, as one who shared her interests. The skies then fell away, of course, revealing Vertumnus as a handsome youth. Though startled, Pomona let him take her hands, and they stayed together until evening, when Pomona agreed to basically marry him. So, yeah, there's that one. Moving on to the next section here. Let's see here. So we have enough time for sure. I want to get to something a little more interesting anyway. Okay, so here, actually, that was the end of the Roman section. Now, this next section here is Greco-Roman. Of course, the time between when Greece and Rome sort of intersected there. So let's see here. This first story is this mythology here is Cupid and Psyche. It's spelled Psyche. Psyche. In a far country, it says, a king and queen had 3 beautiful daughters. The youngest, Psyche, was so lovely, she was worshipped as a goddess, angering Venus. And again, you see this with these deities. They have very human-like attributes at times, even though they have powers and abilities and things that humans don't have in these myths here. Venus told her son, Cupid, to make Psyche fall in love with something base, but he fell in love with her himself. An oracle said Psyche was destined to marry a serpent. Psyche was left on a mountain top to meet her fate. Zephyrus carried her to a beautiful home where she was served by invisible attendants, so almost like spirits, ghosts there, and joined each night by an unseen husband. So it says here, Psyche's jealous sisters convinced her the husband was a serpent, and she must kill him. That night, Psyche took a lamp and knife to bed. The lamp revealed her husband was Cupid himself. Startled, Psyche spilled oil on her. He woke and fled, saying she had ruined their happiness. Of course. Okay. Psyche wandered in search of Cupid. She met Pan, who advised her, and this is another god, to pray to Cupid. Cupid, who was wounded, returned to his mother Venus, who was angered. He disobeyed her. Let's see here. At a temple, Psyche sorted a mixed heap of grain with the help of ants. Venus then demanded golden fleece, which Psyche gathered from thorny plants, and water from the river Styx, which is, of course, the sort of the river between the living and land of the living and the dead, which Jove's eagle got for her. These are other entities here. Venus sent Psyche to the underworld to get beauty from Persephone. Following advice from others, Psyche made the journey successfully, but opened the beauty casket and fell into a deathly sleep. And again, a lot of this, if you think of these as like sort of people or living entities, can seem pretty dark, but just I always say, keep in mind, this is more, I think about concepts and ideas than actual entities in some cases anyway. That's sort of how I try to look at it. Cupid found Psyche, roused her, so woke her up, and appealed to Jove, who had Mercury bring her to heaven. So it's basically afterlife. Made her mortal and married her to Cupid. Their daughter was named Pleasure. And again, this is where I say keep in mind a lot of this is about concepts and these entities being representations of these ideas and these aspects of reality and life and all those things. So that's the end of that section. I think we have time for one more before we have to stop for this episode here. So let me get to this next one here. This next one is, I'm not sure if I'm ever saying this right, Celtic. And this first section within this chapter here is Irish mythology. And so here, this first chapter or section of this chapter is Midir and Etain. It's Midir and Etain. It says Etain was a beautiful maiden with golden hair, rosy cheeks, blue eyes, crimson lips, and basically She was white as snow. She went with 50 maidens to bathe in a woodland pond or pool. Eochaid, king of Ireland, saw Etain bathing and fell in love with her, of course, because she's in the pool. Anyway, marrying her and bringing her to Tara, I'm guessing that's a region or a place at the time, as his queen. Some thought she came from the fairy mounds, and these are, of course, here we have direct mention of these entities that have been seen from ancient times to today. There are, of course, various versions of these sort of these entities that are usually seen as smaller in size but have amazing abilities all around the world. So, it says one morning, Eochaid saw a strange young warrior with golden hair, purple tunic, and gems on his shield, who then vanished. Eochaid's brother, Aelil, fell ill, and no healer could cure him. Eochaid asked Etain to care for Aelil while he traveled Ireland. Aelil said he was lovesick, of course, for Etain. She agreed to meet him to save his life. At the tryst, I'm not sure what that means, the man said she had forgotten and left. The third time, he sang of a marvelous land of eternal youth and plenty, revealing he was Midir the Proud, an immortal king. He said in that land they were lovers until his jealous queen, let me see here, Famnach, turned Etain into a fly. Midir explained Etain was blown to the god Ongus, who housed her, then to her mortal father, Itar's wife's cup, causing Etain to be reborn as Itar's daughter, forgetting her past. Midir wanted her back. So a lot of this, to me, is very sort of confusing, but this is just showing how deep a lot of these accounts are. So that if you probably have to go dig into more documents, more text to try to even get a good idea of what's going on here. Etain, devoted to Eochaid, said she'd only go if Eochaid gave her to Midir. Midir left, and Ael awoke, his desire for Etain gone. Eochaid again saw the warrior who challenged him to chess. They played for great treasures. When Midir won, he demanded to embrace and kiss Etain. And then Eochaid reluctantly agreed in a month, after a while, apparently. Eochaid filled Tara with guards. At a feast a month later, Midir appeared and claimed his prize, of course. As these stories go, anyway. As he embraced Etain, she remembered their immortal love. So apparently they were connected again. That must be what the story was saying before in the middle there, which I didn't get. And they flew away as swans to Midir's fairy palace. So again, you have this ability to change shape. And but we are out of time. Thank you all for listening, and I'll talk to you on the next episode of Salsidoparanormal. Take care.